Hi, everybody. Charles from GMAT Ninja here. Today, we're going to talk more about testing accommodations with Jason Northrup, Testing Accommodations Senior Manager at GMAC. He's the guy who sees absolutely everything. You submit an accommodations application, passes through this guy's desk. What we really want to address in today's video, we hear from candidates all the time who say, I do not want to apply for accommodations. I'm worried about, and they usually say one of four things. I'm worried who's going to find out. I'm worried that schools will find out that I have accommodations and penalize me in some way. Second thing is I'm worried that my testing accommodations will be an unfair advantage. I don't deserve them. I don't want an unfair advantage. Third, we see candidates who worry that somebody else is getting an unfair advantage. The whole system's rotten. And fourth, we hear from candidates who go, oh crap, this process is a real pain. I need to get documentation. I need to get testing. And they resist for that reason. So today we want to overcome all that and say, hey, if you have a condition, submit an application. This guy will read it. Jason, thank you so much for doing this with us.
Appreciate it, Charles. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's address that first thing first, because I think it's pretty quick and painless. If you get testing accommodations, does anybody find out? Is there a little mark on your score report? Will your target MBA programs find out about it?
Short answer is no. There's no mark. There's no feature indicated in score reports that a test was taken with accommodations, and we also don't share disability or accommodation status with business schools.
And so that data is kept thoroughly private, or does it go anywhere outside of your cubicle?
No, it is among the most secure systems we have here at GMAC. We do treat that information as private health information, and so you can rest assured that it goes into a secure system with very high levels of protection and with very few people that actually get to see that documentation here at GMAC.
Perfect. Thank you, Jason. Second big objection we hear from people all the time who go, I have a condition that I could apply for accommodations, but I'm functioning just fine in the world. I don't need it. I don't need the unfair advantage. I don't need the crutch. What would you say to somebody who has some sort of legit condition and kind of has the objection of, I don't want that advantage?
We are really trying to design an exam here that tests very specific things, right? So we want to understand verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, data insights. We are not in the business of measuring somebody's disability, right? So we want to make sure that we're creating an accessible environment and that we are creating the opportunity for a candidate to demonstrate their knowledge, skills, and abilities without being penalized, for difficulties with concentration or reading or sleeping the night before, right? And coming in just totally, fatigued to a test. We really strive to create an accessible, equitable approach and experience for candidates.
So we've gotten objections like these from candidates with all sorts of different conditions: irritable bowel syndrome, sleep disorders, PTSD, dyslexia. People who refuse to apply for accommodations because they're used to living with their dyslexia and think it's unfair to get extra time or some other accommodation. The biggest one, obviously, the one that I think people are most familiar with is ADHD. And just as an example, I want to kind of focus on that for a moment. We could replace that with any other condition and probably have a similar conversation. But ADHD specifically, people go, no, I'm doing fine in life. I don't need this. So why is it that extra time is something that levels the playing field and makes it fair and makes the test better at measuring what it's intended to measure? Why is that extra time a legit thing for somebody with ADHD?
Sure. ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, it comes in many flavors. There's an impulsive element to it. There can be hyperactivity. There can be difficulties with attention. We could spend a whole day talking about all the gender differences and sort of some of the history of that diagnosis and how it's evolved today and how maybe there's been some overdiagnosis in certain areas and vast underdiagnosis in other areas. But bringing it back to this conversation, right, it could impact somebody's ability to attend to the material in front of them or be distracted by the environment around them. And so again, we don't want to penalize somebody for challenges in those areas. We want to make sure that we're creating an accessible opportunity for folks. And yes, more time is going to be the most common type of accommodation request. You'll find that across the industry, all high stakes examinations. You'll see that trend. There are other options and opportunities to make things accessible. We can modify the break structure a little bit. We can work to create a separate testing space and also some modifications potentially within that environment, with our test delivery providers, to create, again, an accessible experience. So it's not just more time. We're not just going to throw more time at everything, but we also want to understand how somebody's impacted and say, hey, we've got some other options for how we can make this accommodation work for somebody.
And the other big objection we get, so there's the people who are worried about getting an unfair advantage for themselves. Sure. Then we have people who kind of have some cynicism. They know somebody from back in university or high school or whatever who bought their way to accommodations or submitted a bogus application or whatever, and go, hey, this whole system's messed up and there's people getting these accommodations for no good reason. And so screw it, this is broken. How real is that, Jason? And what are you doing to guard against people getting those accommodations when they really don't deserve them?
Great question. Unfortunately, right, there are some news stories, some recent, some not so recent, of how accommodations may be factored into some admissions decisions. I'm going to personally review just about every request that comes through here at GMAC. I also have external objective disability consultants, folks that are licensed psychologists, licensed neuropsychologists. These are folks that are consulting with us. They're not GMAC employees, so they're going to really take an objective look at the documentation and provide a recommendation. I don't always have to accept that recommendation, but it's an important part of how we decide, okay, what accommodations are appropriate here, what may need some more support, what can we get sort of clarity on, and I think the issue of forged documentation or documentation that seems suspect, it's so rare that of when it actually happens.
And there's a system in place for when it does, it sounds like.
Absolutely. We work closely with customer care, test security. We're all kind of part of the same team. So we've got, we're able to work together through some of those things and kind of say, how do we address this in an appropriate way?
So fourth and final big objection I hear from candidates who could apply for accommodations, have a very good case to be made, and they go, whoa. All this documentation, this whole testing process I have to go through, what a pain in the butt, it's expensive, it's time consuming, let me just go take the test, I'll be fine. I guess what would you say to those folks who are worried about going and collecting this evaluation and going through that whole process?
To those folks, I would say, please submit what you already have. Our goal is not to require candidates to undergo unnecessary evals, tests. Those evaluations can also be, quite costly, and we understand and respect that as well. There is a place and a space for those types of evaluations, and they're going to answer questions far beyond whether or not test accommodations are appropriate. But to go back to your original question, Charles, please submit what you have. Also know that we are going to take a look at that personal rationale. So if you want to type something out, 1 to 2 pages at most, this is not business school admissions essay level stuff that we need to see. We would love to just understand how you're impacted, how you see the accommodations addressing that. I think we'll have the supplement that we refer to linked hopefully in this video, and that provides some very general prompts for folks to say, here's how I'm impacted, and here's kind of here are my responses to those prompts. So Jason, just to summarize, it sounds like you're saying no polish needed necessarily. Submit what you have. Human beings will read it, evaluate it fairly, and if you need more, it sounds like you'll ask for it. That's right. You got it. Last really quick question. For anybody who's worried about their timeline, their application deadlines are coming, how long does it typically take you to evaluate an accommodations application? We will strive to get those decisions back to you in under 16 to 20 business days. So about a month. Our averages are much lower than that. So look to be about 2 to 3 weeks. We'll get a decision back to you. Perfect. I love it. If you have more questions about accommodations, we're going to have some useful links in the video description. Jason, thank you so much for doing this with us. Thanks, Charles. Appreciate it.